Hello, and welcome to Teen Book Bites. My name is Emily, and I'm the young adult librarian from the Palms Rancho Park branch, and I will be your host for this afternoon. Today, librarians from across the Los Angeles Public Library will be sharing their favorite books for spooky season. So you probably know Halloween is upon us. And what better way to celebrate than reading some scary books? Were you a fan of the Goosebumps series, or maybe the classic scary stories to tell in the dark when you were younger? Maybe you've been watching some great horror films and shows this past month and want to explore the same in your reading. So sit back because our lovely coven of librarians are about to recommend some books that may be for you. So, as a warning though, you may not want to read these books alone in your house after dark. So, as a reminder, all the books you hear about today are available through the library, either digitally or physically, through the library catalog, and are available to pick up at one of our 72 branches. So, up first, we have Ziva from Baldwin Hills.
Thank you. Do you see dead people? Jake Livingston does. Jake deals with the extra trauma of walking through high school halls, seeing past victims, mass shootings from decades ago. This, on top of many microaggressions Jake brings to light in daily struggles of being bullied for being black, for being gay, and for not being the popular kid that his older brother is. When you find out the details of the dead people Jake witnesses in his life, you'll be jumping and screaming at every page turn. This is a new young adult horror by Ryan Douglas. Give it a read if you dare.
Thank you, Ziva. That one is definitely on my to read list. I have it in my holds queue right now. I cannot wait to read it. I've heard it's kind of like um, I've heard it's like a really good take on like social, like modern social commentary horror. What do you think?
I did see all the modern little bits in there. I think it mentioned TikTok in one part, so you can see that it is from 2021.
Okay, perfect. All right, awesome. I can't wait to read. Next up, we have Emily from North Hollywood.
Hi. So today I am going to talk about Wilder Girls by Rory Power. So this book actually came out about 6 months before the pandemic, and it's about a pandemic. It begins a year and a half after the mysterious disease called the Tox hits Raxter Hall, an all-girls boarding school off the coast of Maine on a secluded island. What is the tox? They don't even know, but it's a disease that causes animalistic physical mutations on those who who get it. Some girls get gills, others get scales, and other bizarre growths on their bodies. It also eventually kills them. Our main character, Hetty, is one of the survivors on the island with her friends Reese and Byatt. They're trying to make it through their quarantine and waiting for the day that the cure will come out. But they wait and they wait and they wait. One day, Byatt has a very bad flare up of the illness and she goes missing, which they're on a deserted island in quarantine. Where can someone go missing? So Hetty sets out to find her and learns much more than she bargained for about the talks and the quarantine. This book is brutal, gruesome, violent, but also very moving and powerful. The characters are complex and flawed, and they face harsh consequences for their actions. By the last 100 pages, it's impossible to put down. You just will want to know what happens next.
Thank you, Emily. That's also been on my to read list for a long time. I remember I got it as a hold once and I started to read and I was like, I'm not in the mind space for this book right now.
Yeah, it is. If you don't like gore, if you don't like body horror, probably not for you. But if you
Yeah.
like that sort of thing, it's definitely a great read.
Is one question. Is it a historical novel? Does it take place in the past?
No, it takes place in the present, but
Oh.
because of the quarantine, they get cut off and they're isolated locations. So they don't have the internet, they don't have their cell phones, but they are in current times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Good to know. Okay, next up we have Lear from Teenscape.
Hello, everyone. Today I'm Leah from Teenscape from the Central Los Angeles Public Library, and I wanted to share with you all the new book by powerhouse Tiffany D. Jackson, one of my favorite writers. So her new book is White Smoke, and you'll meet Marigold, a teen who moves with her blended family from California to a small town in the Midwest for a new start and a renovated old house whose bones creak in the night. So the new house, and especially her new town, hold their secrets close. The mystery deepens as Marigold sees the workers refurbishing their new house practically run away at the end of their workday, along with strange shadows, noises, moving items, and perhaps a haunting presence. So she's not sure if this is really happening or it's all in her mind. And the reader can tell that Jackson loves horror. She has a lot of callbacks to different horror subgenres, some like favorites of mine, and the escalation of the scares and the mystery is awesome. She also weaves history into the novel and utilizes Detroit's Devil's Night. Don't look it up beforehand. Just dive into the book. The mood and movement of the story will carry you along to the end, which begs for another installment. Put this book on hold today. Thank you.
Thank you, Lear. Oh my gosh, I've read 2 books by Tiffany D. Jackson. I read Allegedly and Monday's Not Coming, and both have insane twists at the end. Can you tell us if there is one or not at the end of this book?
There is a twist. I have to say, like, Allegedly and Monday's Not Coming are my go-tos for when teens come in and say, I want something to cry. I want to cry. And I'm like, oh, here you go. Gritty, realistic. This book is more horror, but it still does have some psychological twists. So I didn't cry, but I didn't guess it. So that was fun.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. Up next is me. Hi. I couldn't not do this, and I couldn't do this and not recommend a book here. So I have the amazing House of Hollow by Kristen Sutherland to recommend. So when they were young children, Iris Hollow and her 2 older sisters disappeared without a trace while on vacation with their family in Scotland. They reappeared sometime later without any memory of what had happened to them. Now, Iris is 17, and ever since that incident, weirdness has followed her. And it is quite literal weirdness. There is a man with a horned mask that watches her from afar. Then her older sister, Gray, disappears mysteriously, and Iris and her other sister, Vivi, are left to figure out what's happened. So with the help of Gray's boyfriend, Tyler, they follow Gray's breadcrumbs throughout London, dodging stuff like a corpse falling out of a closet, someone setting fire to Gray's apartment, and flowers making homes in people's bodies. And I won't say any more because there are some really twisty turns this book takes. It is not your classic horror with like slashers or monsters or ghosts. It's House of Hollow is way more of like a gothic, magical horror. It's very, very sensory, and the author uses that to her advantage to make everything feel very, very creepy. That being said, kind of like Wilder Girls, there's some weird body horror in this book. So if that's not your thing, I might skip it, but I absolutely loved how weird and creepy and ultimately like really unique this book is. So that is House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. Okay, so enough on my books. So we have next Kelly from Studio City.
Hello. I am recommending Burden Falls by Kat Ellis. This is a slow burn, creepy mystery read. The book starts with Ava Thorne having to move out of her family's manor into a small mill house. She lost her parents in a car crash, and now it's just her, her uncle, and his wife. Ever since the crash, she has been plagued by nightmares and is starting to believe there is some truth to maybe a curse on their family. At the heart of this curse is a ghost named Dead-Eyed Sadie, a female specter with no eyeballs. When one of her classmates is mysteriously killed and Ava is the primary suspect, it's up to her to clear her name and find out who the real killer is. Or is it the ghost? So I really enjoyed this book. It was a mysterious, twisty, psychological thriller of a book. The book starts slow, but as you read, the suspense builds, and soon you find you just can't put this book down until you figure out who the killer is. I had many different theories, and I was wrong in the end for who that killer is. The ghost/curse added to the overall creepiness and added another mystery that needed to be solved. So this is an overall great read that will keep you guessing to the end, and it's perfect for this Halloween season.
Thank you, Kelly. I actually read Kat Ellis's book, Harrow Lake, recently, and that one was a mind trip. It was it was very creepy, and I really want it to be made into a horror movie. Is this one similar?
Pretty similar. This one's a bit more like Riverdale meets Haunting of Hill House.
Nice. I like that. I like that comparison.
But still really good. Still with her whole psychological, what's going on in her mind, and yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. All right, we're going back to Emily. Talk about her next book.
Thank you very much. So, that's not me. There we go. The pains of having the same name. So I'm going to talk about The Hazards of Love by Stan Stanley. So this is a graphic novel. So it is both scary in text, but also pretty scary graphically. It's kind of hard to describe. The main character, first of all, has several names throughout the story. So I'm going to call them Fawn because that's the name they have at the end. But it all starts with a name. One day, this high school student is visited by a talking cat, as one does. The cat offers them a chance to be a better person. Unfortunately, the cat is a liar. The cat steals their name and identity and sends our protagonist into a terrifying world called the Bright World. This is full of creatures that might look like Disney characters, but are actually pretty much want nothing more than to eat a human. Fawn needs to find protection. Eventually, they end up in the service of an evil doctor who is also a deer, El Ciervo, and this creature is so frightening, other creatures are afraid of him. Fawn is trying to free herself from what's going on, free the other humans. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show some, where is that? So some of the artwork from here. So you can see the colors are just very bright and luscious and really interesting, and it is creepy. There are a lot of creepy characters, violence, and Fawn really tries to struggle to preserve their humanity in this very unhuman world. I can't recommend it enough. It does end on a cliffhanger, so if you're like me and hate cliffhangers, then it's you might want to wait for the next one to come out, but it's just a great read.
Thank you, Emily. Yeah, I read The Hazards of Love. I interviewed Stan Stanley with Vincy, who's the clerk at your branch. And yeah, I also hated that it ended on a cliffhanger. I need the next volume right now.
Now, if you are very impatient, she does release it as a webcomic, but it's not in full color. And I think the color really adds to the story. So if you really need to know what happens next, you can read it. But I suggest really experiencing it in print, in full color, or on Hoopla, our online service.
Yeah, I agree. The full color is so vibrant and beautiful, and it really adds to the story. But don't let it fool you, because yeah, there is some creepy
So
stuff that
creepy.
happens. Like, I thought it was just going to be light and fun, and there's some light and fun parts, but man, some of the imagery in there is very
Yeah.
like, ooh.
And I mean, every page, the colors are this like bright and poisonous looking, all these like
Mhm.
beautiful but dangerous looking plants and creatures, beautiful animals but sharp teeth. So it's
Yeah.
very, very creepy in all the best ways.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Emily. All right, we're going back to Lear from Teenscape.
All right, thank you again. So, listening about the last book, this would go along with it. So, another great read, perfect for a night in with a cup of tea or cocoa, is the newest book by author of the School of Good and Evil series, Soman Chinani, Beasts and Beauty, Dangerous Tales. These are 12 remixed fairy tales that reflect people you come across in life in all the colors of the rainbow and challenge what you thought fairy tales were made of. Janani weaves beautifully written prose along with gorgeous art by Julia Iredale. For example, what if Red Riding Hood won after all? And what if girls and boys get themselves out of trouble without waiting for a prince to save them? Each story will remind you of the originals, but with new life breathed into them. And it'll leave you to ponder them long after you close the book. These stories deal with gender, sexuality, misogyny, abuse, and the various ways beauty is not always the end goal, if ever. So read and savor these somewhat intense, gritty, and chilling stories. And remember, keep your lights on.
Oh, that sounds perfect for a night in. Or you can read just one story at a time, but maybe not too close to your bedtime.
Yeah, they're not like jumpy scary, but they're more like you're gonna be thinking about them when you close your eyes, and maybe you don't want all that imagery in your head at bedtime.
All right, thanks. That sounds really great. Lastly, we are going back to Kelly.
Yes. I mean, we have to like go full circle. You have to have a hideous clown that's killing people. Here is Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesare. This is actually the winner of the 2020 Bram Stoker Award for Superior Achievement in Young Adult Novel. Clown in a Cornfield is your classic teen horror slashers book. This book is about Quinn and her father moving to a small town called Kettle Springs to find a fresh start after her mom died. But ever since the Bay Pen corn syrup factory shut down, Kettle Springs has cracked in half. On one side are the adults who are desperate to make Kettle Springs great again, and on the other side are the kids who just want to have fun, make prank videos, and get out of Kettle Springs as quick as they can. Kettle Springs is caught in a battle between old and new, tradition and progress. It's a fight that looks like it will destroy the town, until Friendo, the Bay Pen mascot, a creepy clown in a pork pie hat, goes homicidal and decides that the only way for Kettle Springs to grow back is to cull the rotten crop of kids who live there now. So I highly recommend this if you're looking for a fun, campy read featuring small town, killer clowns, and twisted motives. This also features a strong female protagonist who just kicks butt. This book gave me a lot of like Scream, and I Know What You Did Last Summer vibes. So if you're into those kind of slasher films, then I highly recommend this book. It's just kind of like good fun all around. It's non-serious, it's campy, it's a horror movie with clowns. So if you're into that, this is for you.
Thanks, Kelly. Yeah, I read Clown in a Cornfield a few months ago, and it is very campy. I did enjoy it. Friend of the Clown. Like, come on. You can't get a better slasher name than that.
Mhm.
And I didn't know it won the Bram Stoker Award too.
Yeah.
That's
Yep,
crazy.
found that out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you everyone for sharing your amazing scary horror books. And that's it for today for our spooky teen book bites. So we will be back next month on Monday, November 29th at 3 p.m. And next month's theme is Native American Heritage Month. So please be sure to tune in. Also, don't forget to tune into LAPL's YouTube and Facebook live channels for more great programming. Thank you all again to all of our spooky librarians for sharing these books with us today, and I hope you have a really great haunted Halloween.